What the?
For the residents of Berkeley Springs, Tuesday, May the 7th of 2019 started out like
Awkward.
most other days. The weather was warm, summer just around the corner, and Riley had a normal day at school. Her mother, Chantel, was asleep on the sofa when she got home just after 3 p.m. She hadn't been feeling well, and Riley also knew she was worn out from working 2 jobs. She didn't want to disturb her mom, but she eventually woke her up so she wouldn't be late for her work that night. After Chantel left, Riley spent most of the evening with her brothers, her grandmother Debbie, and Andy McCauley. She went to her room to FaceTime with Hayden after her grandmother left around 7:30 p.m., but they got into an argument almost immediately. Hayden was going on a school trip to Washington, D.C. the following day, and Riley didn't want him getting too friendly with any of his other classmates. He eventually fell asleep around 10 p.m., but Riley sent him a disturbing message at 11:01 p.m. "Andy's in my room. Shh. Don't say anything about it so he can hear everything." Then,
What?
12 minutes later, she sent a second and final message. "I'm scared, babe." Riley's bedroom door was closed when Chantel went to check on her after work that night. She assumed her daughter was sleeping or texting with Hayden and decided not to bother her. We may never know what happened between 11:01 p.m. that night and the following morning.
Yeah.
But when
Wow.
Hayden woke up at 5 a.m. on Wednesday the 8th, he immediately saw that he had missed a FaceTime call from Riley the night before. When Chantel went to check on Riley a few hours later, around 7:15 a.m., she wasn't in her room or anywhere else in the house.
Brother.
She didn't usually leave for school that early, but that morning Chantel wasn't surprised that she was already gone. She knew about Hayden's class trip, and she figured that Riley had walked to school early so she could see him before he and his classmates left. Nothing in Riley's bedroom looked out of place, but Chantel noticed that she hadn't taken her purse, glasses, or phone charger with her. This was a little odd because she never left home without them, but it wasn't necessarily cause for concern. That day, everyone went about their business as usual. At that point, all they thought was that they would see Riley around 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon like they always did. But her grandmother got worried when she didn't show up after school. Chantel tried to contact Riley multiple times, but her calls went to voicemail and texts went unanswered. This was a red flag because, like most teenagers, Riley
This
was
was a
never
red
far from her phone.
flag.
In addition, she had always
Jeez,
responded
this
to
was a
calls
red
and
flag.
texts within a few
Thanks,
minutes,
Tips.
and she always let her mother or grandmother know in advance if she
Brother,
was planning on
700
being
more of
home
these fucking
late.
things.
Then Chantel realized that she hadn't actually seen Riley the previous night. She went to her bedroom to check on her sometime after 10 p.m., but didn't actually go in because the door was closed and she respected her daughter's privacy. Andy began acting strange when Chantel told him that Riley was missing, but he said he would go look for her. Chantel drove to Berkeley Springs High School, which was just a few blocks away, but she was horrified when she found that Riley had never shown up for school that day. When she got back home,
The real
a few
question
minutes
is, who's
later,
this Andy guy?
left on his bicycle to go look for Riley, and she and her friend Kelly set off to do the same. Later, when she came back home, Andy was asleep on the couch instead of out looking for her missing daughter. Now Chantel was angry, flustered, and distraught. Her keen mother's instinct told her that something horrible had happened, but she figured if anyone knew where Riley was, it would be her
Scumbag.
boyfriend, Hayden. But he told her that he had not talked to her, texted, or seen Riley at all that day. When she hung up with Hayden, Chantel was in panic mode. She immediately called 911 and reported her daughter missing. Sometimes the police will react slowly when teenagers go missing. After all, they often disappear intentionally and maybe show up a day or two later, no worse for wear. But according to Riley's father, Lance, and everyone who knew her, this would have been way out of character for her. She was just too thoughtful to keep her friends and family worried unnecessarily, and at just 15 years old, she was not old enough to drive. At that point, nobody knew where she was or what had happened, but the only reasonable explanations were that she had been in some kind of accident, or worse, was taken against her will. Officers began searching around Riley's school and home, questioning her family members to see if they could provide any additional information. They also talked to her friends, and to their surprise, at least one of them told them that she may not have come home because she was afraid of Andy McCauley. Investigators already knew Andy was an addict with a long rap sheet that included drug, burglary, and assault charges dating back nearly a decade. Needless to say, he was a person of interest from the very beginning.
Oh, sorry, buddy. They're going to bring the dog up to sniff around and see if they can get a trail on her, but I wouldn't mind talking to you for a minute if you got a minute. Yep. When's the last time you saw her?
Like 9, maybe 10-ish.
At night?
Yeah.
And what context was that?
She was here in the house with me. Well, grandma was here till like 7.
Okay.
I think it was 7:30. She left.
Okay.
Kids were here out with me.
Right.
She was at work till 10, I think it was. She got home.
Okay.
9:30, 10 o'clock. She got home.
Okay. And what time she go to bed?
Me?
No, the girl.
She went to bed probably. Well, I don't know what time she went to bed.
That guy's high as a kite.
All the kids were in the room by like 9:30.
Okay.
No, the kids actually were here. Me, Ryder's here, Riker was here. I was there.
Okay.
That guy is high as a kite, bro. Holy shit, look at his fucking eyes. Damn, brother.
Upstairs, that's the last you saw her. Did you see her leave in the morning?
No, I got up 4 o'clock in the morning. Left 5.
Okay.
Go to work.
I will.
And Mark Bergman Construction.
Okay.
Andy seemed helpful and cooperative.
Seemed helpful.
when officers
Dude's
showed
higher
up
than
at
a kite.
the home to ask him some routine.
The fuck do you mean? He'd be getting arrested. Or me, brother. I guess you couldn't really arrest him because he's just high, but Jesus. Could detain him at least.
Questions. Meanwhile, scores of concerned residents searched around the area for Riley. Because kidnappers often take their victims across state lines, the Morgan County Sheriff's Office immediately notified law enforcement agencies in Maryland and Virginia. Federal agencies like the FBI, the ATF, and the Department of Homeland Security were also called in because they had far more resources and experience in dealing with perplexing missing persons cases. When officers showed Chantel the texts that Riley had sent to Hayden the night before, she said that Andy may have gone into her room to sexually assault her. However, it's not clear why she said this or if he had made advances towards her daughter in the past. Either way, Andy was questioned again multiple times at the home in the early phase of the investigation. He was even shown the text messages Riley had sent to Hayden that night before being reported missing.
Argument here last night,
No.
or the night before, anything, any reason she would leave?
No.
Okay. Because the rumor going around, people telling us that she was afraid to come home. I don't know if that's, I mean, you know how people go sometimes. But
That was nothing like that.
Okay. So,
She wouldn't have to be her. I mean, they're
Right.
They ain't like that. They
Okay.
it's never like that.
he says nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Her mom wasn't even home.
Yeah, her
She's
mom
the
wasn't
one.
even home.
No, you. They said that she got an argument
No.
with you and,
No.
and didn't want to come home.
No.
So, I don't know.
She was her grandma. You can ask your grandma. She was here doing dishes and everything. Her grandma was here till 7:30.
Okay.
Debbie.
Right.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
everything was cool.
Anything that
Can help us.
can help
Yeah.
us.
I mean, if I had something to help you, I'd be doing it, brother. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, we're waiting on her to get back now, so we can go do this. Look
Okay.
for her and everything.
Sometimes it's part of our process.
Yeah.
When somebody comes missing like this, to ask everybody to take a polygraph
Oh, yeah,
just to make sure. You're good with that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No problem. You know what I mean?
We just have to bring somebody in. So.
Yeah. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything.
All right. Good.
Anything else?
Andy volunteered to take a polygraph test, and since he was not under arrest, he went to the station voluntarily. But the results were inconclusive because he was under the influence of drugs at the time.
Yup.
Later, he was questioned by officers and investigators from the Morgan County Sheriff's Office and the West Virginia State Police. He told them that he had been asleep on the night of May the 7th until early the following morning. But phone records show that he had texted a friend nearly a dozen times around 2:30 a.m. on the morning of May the 8th. Andy eventually admitted that he left home on foot to buy drugs because he was going into withdrawal and felt horrible.
At 2:30 in the morning, I don't know what to say.
I don't drive. She won't let me drive. I don't drive nothing. She won't let me drive her car at all. She mad at you? She's not mad at me. She's mad at me for getting high. She's like, we wouldn't have been out at 2:30 in the morning, and we wouldn't have to be going through these steps. And now we can go back and help me search for her right now. And I'm stuck in here for about 2 hours. Then she'll be out there looking for her. You know what I mean?
When did you get to work that morning?
4 o'clock.
He also said that he got up around 4 a.m. and left for work about an hour later. At the time, he was a construction worker for a local company. Andy told investigators that he was at a job site in the Red Hill subdivision all day on May the 8th, but the company's owner told a different story. He claimed that Andy asked for 3 heavy-duty trash bags and said he needed to leave and clean up another job site. When Andy returned 4 or 5 hours later, his boss noticed that his shoes were untied, his clothes were disheveled as if he may have gotten dressed in a hurry. Investigators also had CCTV footage of Andy leaving the job site in his green truck and traveling along multiple roads. However, some of the roads were not between the job site in the Red Hill subdivision and the other he claimed to have visited. One of the roads was the Tuscarora Pike, where Andy initially denied being on that day. But when he was confronted with the contradictory video evidence, he grudgingly admitted that he had been caught in yet another lie. And once again, he claimed that he didn't tell the truth because he went to buy drugs and didn't want to incriminate himself. Andy was a drug addict, but this just didn't add up. One of his co-workers told investigators that he already had cocaine on him that day and that he wouldn't have needed to go buy more. Investigators now knew that Andy spent 4 or 5 hours doing something other than buying drugs, and it almost certainly had something to do with Riley's disappearance. Morgan County Sheriff Corporal Luke Shambaugh said that Andy had lied about nearly everything and had changed his story multiple times. To a person, the officers and investigators agreed that he was involved in Riley's disappearance somehow. Now they just needed to prove it, and if it wasn't too late, find Riley. Later, when her saliva and DNA were found on a pillow in her bedroom, they feared she might already be dead. As the days dragged by with no sign of Riley, even her most positive friends and family members began losing hope. Then, 8 days after she went missing, their worst fears were confirmed. On Saturday, May the 16th, 2019, a body was discovered in heavy-duty black trash bags located along the embankment of Tuscarora Pike, about 25 miles or 40 kilometers southeast of her home in Berkeley Springs. However, identification was not possible because the body was in such an advanced state of decomposition. Nonetheless, it was definitely a young woman or a teenage girl. Whoever it was, the victim's t-shirt was bunched up around her neck and shoulders. She was also wearing denim shorts that were torn, unbuttoned, and partially unzipped, but her underwear was pulled abnormally high around her hips and waist like someone else may have put them on. There was also an unidentified chalky white substance on the victim's shoes, and investigators found a number of screws scattered around the site. They were sure it was Riley, but they couldn't break the bad news to the parents until the body had been positively identified, but they did tell Andy McCauley. By then, he was already the main person of interest, and they wanted to gauge his reaction when he got the news. When they did tell him about the body that was found near Tuscarora Pike, he became noticeably flustered and asked if they knew who it was. Officers said that it hadn't been positively identified and they hadn't notified Riley's parents. He replied that he hoped it wasn't Riley, that she was his daughter, and that he loved her like one of his own. The following day, the body was sent to the office of the chief medical examiner in Charleston, West Virginia, where dental records did finally.
My question is, how did they let this
was
drug addict
Riley
fucking
Crossman.
loser in the house with
Advanced
this kid?
decomposition had prevented the medical examiner from determining an exact cause of death, but it was ruled a homicide. Investigators also learned that the white substance on Riley's shoe was commercial drywall mud, and Andy could not explain why drywall screws like the ones discovered near her body were also in his truck and tool belt. With a mountain of evidence against Andy McCauley, investigators
I mean,
concluded that
the
he went
suggestion
into
for
Riley's
that
room
is
on May the
KBD could have
7th,
those
came up
screws.
behind her while she was lying face down on the bed, and strangled her or smothered her with a pillow. They also suspected that the motive was sexual. The medical examiner didn't find any evidence to support that theory, but Riley's mother told them that he may have entered the room to sexually assault her. She also told them that Andy could be sexually aggressive when he was under the influence of drugs. Police arrested Andy on May the 16th of 2019 and charged him with Riley's murder. Morgan County had always had its fair share of crime, but according to prosecutor Dan James, the tight-knit community had never seen anything like this. Andy's trial began on September the 27th of 2021, more than 2 years after he allegedly murdered Riley. Present in the packed and emotionally charged courtroom were Circuit Court Judge Deborah McLaughlin, Riley's parents, friends, and relatives, members of the press, law enforcement officials from local, state, and federal agencies, Prosecutor James, the jury, and the defendant, Andy McCauley, and his attorney, Andrew Arnold. Everyone knew that the state had a rock-solid case against Andy, so it came as a big surprise when he pleaded not guilty. In similar cases, defense attorneys often urge their clients to plead guilty and place themselves at the mercy of the court. Or, alternately, sometimes they will negotiate reduced charges in exchange for a guilty plea and a speedy trial. State Prosecutor Dan James began by presenting an overview of the horrific crime and how it played out from beginning to end. In a particularly poignant moment, he rhetorically asked why Riley's shorts and underwear were ripped. It was never proven that Riley was sexually assaulted, but this reminded the jury of the heinous nature of the crime. When Riley's mom took the stand, she provided a sober and nearly emotionless account of the circumstances surrounding her daughter's disappearance. Then Dr. Piotr Kubacek from the Office of the Medical Examiner testified about the state of Riley's body and the autopsy results.
So upon review of all the available studies, the autopsy findings, autopsy toxicology, review of some law enforcement information, I arrived with the cause of death as a homicide due to unspecified means in setting of decomposition, because decomposition, of course, makes impossible to really.
Dr. Kubacek testified that Riley's shorts were unzipped, unbuttoned, and that her underwear was partially torn.
They were unzipped.
Were they also unbuttoned?
Unbuttoned and unzipped.
Okay. And do you remember if Riley Crossman's body at that time had shoes on?
There was one shoe on.
Okay. And do you remember if there was anything specific about those shoes? Well, strike that. Do you know if the shoe was tied or untied?
If I recall, it was untied.
And do you recall anything about a adherent white chalk-like material located on the shoe?
Yes, there was some.
West Virginia State Police Sergeant Sean Wolf noted that her shorts and underwear were hiked up much farther than normal and that a portion of her genitals were exposed.
Next, direct your attention to the victim's clothing. Do you recall what she was wearing?
I do. At the time that we were present, there was a shirt. It was bunched up around the neck area here. Later, when they took it off and hung it up to dry, as I recall, it was like a Native American or tribal pattern type shirt. She had on small blue jean shorts with that were unbuttoned, and there was a zip. The zipper was kind of a unique. It was like a ring type zipper. The button had like a little A. I don't know if that's Abercrombie or what, but it was the design pattern. The shorts were kind of torn a little bit in the back, but the shorts themselves were like small type shorts, blue jean type denim shorts. And then the underwear on the child victim was red, like a larger type band, and it was. I noticed that we noted, and we discussed this with the doctor, that they were both pulled high. They were unusually pulled high. They didn't look, I don't know how to describe that. Just when you put on your clothes, or when you put, on your own clothes, you pull your...
Hiked up?
Your height, yeah. I mean, I don't know how to say that, but these looked hiked up, like even if maybe somebody pulled them on quickly, or maybe something had been pulled on, but they were hiked. That's something that Sergeant Wojtek and I discussed, was just the fact that they didn't look comfortable the way they were put on. They were pulled too high. I don't know how to, I don't know how they...
Do you recall if the victim's vaginal area was partially exposed?
It was. It was because the underpants were pulled into that area, so to say. I'm trying, so yes.
He also said that strangulation and suffocation could not be ruled out, even though the medical examiner was unable to determine how she died. That statement was ultimately stricken from the record because he was not qualified to make such a determination. But even so, it painted a vivid and horrifying picture for the jurors and those present in the courtroom. Later, forensic analysis described how the drywall mud and screws found with Riley's body matched those found in Andy's truck and tool belt. Another witness who provided damning testimony against Andy was his old boss, Howard Ruark. He told the court that Andy had asked for heavy-duty trash bags on May the 8th, left the job site for 4 or 5 hours, and that his shoes were untied and his clothes were disheveled when he returned.
If Andy was coming back to the job site.
Did she respond back to you?
Yes, she said she hadn't even knew that he had left.
Okay. Did you have any other communication with Chantel?
I don't believe so, no.
And was this communication before lunch or after lunch?
This was after.
It was after lunch?
Yes.
Okay. And did eventually Andy come back to the job site?
He did.
And do you remember what time he came back to the job site?
No, I'm not sure exactly what time it was.
How much longer after lunch do you believe it was?
Probably an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay. Do you recall, was he driving a vehicle when he came back?
Yeah,
Did you
my green Dodge.
Did you actually see him physically driving that vehicle?
Yes, he pulled up in it.
What do you remember about Andy? Did you see Andy get out of the vehicle?
I did.
What do you remember about Andy getting out of the vehicle?
He got out of the truck. I noticed his shoes were untied, and he was kind of fixing his clothes. Walked up to me and said, "My bad, dog. I'll work late if I need to." And I said, "It's all good. I was just happy to have the truck back."
Did you ask him where the heck have you been for the last 4 to 5 hours?
I did not.
During the week-long trial, prosecutors presented more than 120 pieces of evidence, including the footage of Andy traveling the Tuscarora Pike on May the 8th in the vicinity where Riley's body was found. During closing arguments, Prosecutor James stressed that the crime was premeditated. He also reminded the jury how long it took for someone to die from suffocation or strangulation, and that during that time the killer would have had ample time to relent. As the trial drew to a close, jurors were instructed that they would have the option of attaching mercy to Andy's sentence if they found him guilty of first-degree murder.
At this point in time, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have reached a verdict of murder in the first degree. A murder in the first degree is without mercy. If no mercy is attached, requires me to sentence the defendant to prison without being eligible for parole. A finding that mercy attaches to the verdict, or a finding of mercy, means that they will be eligible for parole in 15 years. However, there's no guarantee that they'll get paroled in 15 years. So if after 15 years of actual time served at some date on or after 15 years, they may, at the wisdom of the Board of Parole, be released into the community. The other hard edge around that mercy determination is it's like a verdict of guilty must be a unanimous verdict. In other words, you must all agree that mercy attaches or not. There is no burden of proof associated with this. You get to simply hear each side's position regarding the issue of mercy.
This meant that if mercy was attached, Andy could be eligible for parole in 15 years. But before the jury left the courtroom to consider mercy, Riley's father, Lance, took the stand.
Thank you, Dan. Members of the jury, thank you for hearing me. How do you summarize your child's life? How do I explain what she meant to us. I can't. Riley was the type of child you hope to have one day. She was kind and gentle and loving and full of life. Riley will be forever frozen in time, only living on in our memories now. And she will forever be 15 years old to us. Counsel mentioned 15 years. In 15 years, he may be eligible for parole. She only got 15 years. That's all she had. 15. So if this is a case of mercy, like Mr. James said, where was the mercy in this crime? Where was it? Where was the mercy when he walked into her room where she's supposed to feel safe? Where's the mercy when he attacked her? Where's the mercy when he put her in a trash bag and dumped her off the side of the road like garbage?
Andy's defense attorneys took great pains explaining that attaching mercy wasn't a guarantee that his client would be paroled in 15 years. Instead, it only meant that a parole board could review his case in 15 years.
So I want you to be clear that an attachment of the word mercy is not an award of parole, not by any means. In asking you to attach mercy to this verdict, we do not ask you to award parole after 15 years, 18 years, 21 years. The parole board will consider somebody facing a life sentence after 15, but if they do not grant parole, they will only reconsider in 3-year increments. We do not, in fact, ask you to award parole at all. What we ask is that you leave that really important question to a distant future, to another body, the parole board, whose obligation is to community safety first, to fair and just retribution, and to the orderly management and operations of our prison systems.
Afterward, the jury took less than 20 minutes to convict Andy McCauley of first-degree murder, death of a child by a custodian by child abuse, and concealing a body.
We, the members of the petit jury, as to the issues joined, find the defendant, Andrew J. McCauley Jr., as follows. Count 1, murder. Guilty of murder in the first degree.
And
He doesn't even react.
surprisingly, they voted unanimously not to attach mercy to the verdict. As such, Judge McLaughlin gave Andy life without the possibility of parole on November the 4th of 2021. Andy remained stoic and refused to make a statement after the sentence was read. At the end of the trial, Riley's mother, Chantel, Prosecutor James, and a number of officers and investigators who had worked the case all expressed their disappointment that the death penalty was not an option under West Virginia law. Andy McCauley is currently serving his sentence at the Mount Olive Correctional Complex in South Central West Virginia. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to like the video, comment down below your take
It was pretty
and
compelling.
please
I
subscribe
wonder.
to the channel.
That's pretty
Also,
crazy.
hit
Like
the
I never even
notification bell.
admitted to it though.
Yeah, it probably does. I just didn't know we had any.
Back, baby. Yo, Jay, what's up? My bad. What's up? Where you at? I'm right here. I was making a BLT, brother. What you saying, Jay? How you been? How you been? How you been? How you been?
And I just started freaking out. If you're not arrested,
You just cam.
I'm gonna freak out, dude.
This is the
just
exact
cam.
moment Fonte Bulow realized his life would change forever.
Oh my god, I'm freaking out!
Butt breaker and energy drinks are terrible for you, bro. Honestly, you should avoid drinking energy drinks at all costs. Those things are just literal fucking cancer in a bottle. That look delicious, bro. Jay, if there's one thing I know how to do in this world, it's make good food. You know? I know how to jack off properly and make good food. Those are my two specialties in life. God blessed me with two things, and those are it. They're like, here, you got some fucking strong, meaty hands for jerking your meat, and the other fucking hands for, like, you know, massaging the marinade into other meats. The sandwich is fire. My God. Mmm. Man, that's so good.
How'd she do that, man? That is so selfish, dude. Please wake up. Wake up.
On March 31st, 2017, when dispatch in the small
DJ Vlad. What do you mean? DJ Vlad's a fucking idiot.
small town of Dubuque, Iowa, received a frantic 911 call early in the morning.
Yo, Spirit Box,
It
you
was
sexy
immediately
beast.
clear that something was horribly wrong. What transpired would
How's my
result in
man?
a truly shocking and controversial case. A series of EWU exclusive, never-before-heard interviews shed.
So, later today I'll be playing some 5 more than likely. Well, it all depends. Jay just kind of disappeared out of the blue. But if he's down to play some Apex later, I might play some Apex with the man. But if he's not playing Apex later, then we're definitely going to be playing some fucking zombies. We goody? Hey. You look like an idiot then, if that's the case, bro.
New light, and we conducted
Call
our
your
own
mama.
investigation to uncover even more twists.
Need I say more? That's literally your name on YouTube. Call your mama. Need I say more? I look like an idiot? I guess that's why you don't judge a book by its cover, right?
Answer the phone! 911! Answer the phone! Hey, I need a cab! I need an 871 can right now!
I may look like an idiot, but you sound fucking retarded.
Okay, please. Listen to me. Okay, 870 cane! 870 cane! 870 cane! 870 cane! Okay, listen, please!
The Dark Arthur? How old are you, 12?
Where are they stabbed?
You can't even speak or type properly.
And it's stomach. Come on, man. Tell him. Stop talking to me and tell him. You need to stop yelling. You need to stop. Boy. How old is the person? Why are you doing my coffee? How old is the person?
Oh, what's wrong? You don't like it when the tables are turned, bro? You sound like a fucking idiot.
He won't answer any of my questions.
What's wrong?
Oh my God, yes, 3 months old. What's the question? What is so important? How old is he? How old is he? Is he conscious? Is he breathing? Get over here. You tell me if she's breathing. I'm scared. Help is on the way. Help has been on the way. That's all I need to hear. Thank you. No, listen. Okay. Is she in the kitchen, bedroom, living room? Where's she at in the house? In the living room. Right in the living room. Is she awake right now?
This guy sounds high as shit.
Is she breathing? Dude, I'm not. Please get here. God damn it. They're coming. I gotta take care.
Bro, this fucking... this fucking... what's her name? Like, like a Chord Apex? Okay, let's do it. I'm down. Yo.
Man, the myth, the legend.
Give her my little sister. I don't have a little sister, so joke's on you, homeboy. Fucking idiot. Oh, what the hell? Yo, what? Oh, shit. Yo, can you hear me? Yo, Jay, no! Fuck. Yo. Yo, Jay, can you hear me? JJ.
What's good, G? How are you?
Yeah, Coiler's a little faggot, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. He needs something to do, bro. He's bored. It'd be a lonely life if you think about it.
Yeah.
Going through YouTube channels, trolling and shit. You must be like 12.
So yeah, I gotta restart my PC real quick.
Bet. Do your thing, G.
For real, get a hobby. I gotta restart my PC and I'm gonna start up an Apex stream chat, so I'll see you guys there. Peace. For real, get a hobby. Coiler. Colliar. What a name. What a name. Alright, I'll be back though.